Hi, welcome to Cypress Sawmill. The purpose of this video clip is to show how to build this Macrocarpa outdoor table. The design brief is 1. To be good looking, 2. To be strong and long lasting, and 3. To be able to be built with the minimal of tools. A full list of the materials is available on Cypress Sawmill's website. Just look under outdoor table. The first thing we need to do is to take the sharp edges off the timber, because sharp edges can be a source of splinters in the long term. So this can be done as simply as using a piece of sandpaper or using an electric planer, which gives you a nice 45-degree arris, or the other option, if you have one, is a router, which will give you a nice pencil round finish. We take the top slats and pick the best side and put that upwards, and then once we're happy with the pattern of the timber and the knot situation, we then turn that over 180 degrees. This makes construction a lot easier. We mark the positioning of the boards so we don't lose track of where, and we put a line which signifies where we're going to cut the tabletop off eventually. And as this is a 8-seater, we're making this 1800 millimeters long. Now we're doing the cross braces underneath, and they're out of 90 by 45, and the detailed plans of how to cut these are shown on the instruction sheet. Just cutting the 45-degree angle there. And we make a mark 280 millimeters in from the end of the tabletop, and this is going to be where we're going to put the cross members, and we're just showing one end, but the same thing happens at the other end. And here we have our 90 by 45 cross members, and we're positioning and marking where we're going to put the screws to hold it to the tabletop, and we're using a 6mm drill that is 150 millimeters long. You may have to purchase one of those, but it is very handy to have. And drilling right through the first piece, through the cross member. And we need to use a slightly different technique on the end, just to get a place where the screw can go on. Then we use glue, construction adhesive, to fix it to the tabletop. Now we're using the 14 gauge 125mm long bugle screws. They're galvanized, so they're good for outdoor use, and an impact driver is very handy to have in this sort of situation. And obviously we do this at both ends of the table. Now we're cutting the legs, the actual bottom of the leg, and again following the instructions on the instruction sheet, cutting them to the right shape. $930mm wide, which means it's just about as wide as the tabletop, which is necessary for stability. Otherwise you'd end up with a table that might tip over. The easiest way to cut those tapered angles is with a skill saw. Now we're on to the legs themselves, which are made out of 290 by 45, and we're going to be cutting these to 610 millimeters long. Now we're marking out the position of the countersink holes on the legs themselves, leg bases themselves. These are so that we can hide the head of the coach screw, which is going to go up through those pieces and up into the end grain of the 290 by 45 legs. Just drilling right through now. And because we're using M10 coach screws, we're actually drilling a 12mm hole through there so that it's totally loose through the first part. That way it won't bind as it's going through, and then it can screw up nice and tight up into the end grain of the 290x45. Just marking the positions there, and again using our 6mm 150mm long drill, doing a nice pilot hole. So that's so the M10x150 coach screws can screw into that pilot hole. Again, we're using liberal amounts of construction adhesive. This is a very strong construction technique. Basic, but very strong and quite nice looking. It's important not to tighten these down too tight because you'll end up stripping the thread, so just tighten them up snugly, not too tight. And it's starting to come together now. We can see what we're trying to achieve. Now we're going to use a 10mm drill to drill 10mm holes right through, so that then we can put our M10 coach bolts through to fix the leg to the brace. Now we're going to cut the angle braces, and the purpose of these are to stop the legs from racking back and forward. So it's cutting a couple of 45-degree angles there, and then they will be positioned up under the table. This is a nice way of bracing the table because it's very unobtrusive. Nobody's going to hit their legs on it or get their feet tangled up in it. Impact drivers are an amazing invention. Now we're just cutting some tackers to go on the underside of the leg bases, and these are just to raise the table up off the ground just by 20mm, and it just keeps it from the feet getting wet. It's almost like a sacrificial piece. If that eventually rots out, then it can be easily replaced. Now we're putting on the side skirt, and the purpose of this is to just give the table a bit of a meatier look. Again, we're using the 10mm drill, and we're using 14 gauge bugler head screws. Very strong method of construction. And here we go. Just using a piece of plywood as a straight edge and running the skill saw along. This is the enjoyable part. Just take the sharp edge off again, and next we're going to put another piece of 65x45 on the end as a kind of end capping, and this will stop the end grain of those pieces of 140x45 from splitting and cracking excessively. It'll protect the end and also finishes off that skirt, which makes it look a lot heavier than it actually is. And now that we're just about finished, we're going to coat it with a product called CD50, which is an outdoor furniture oil. And that penetrates in and stops the moisture going in and out of the timber, and generally keeps the timber looking good for a long period of time in an exterior situation. Make sure you do all the way round, not just the top side. Do the underside, flip the table over, do the underside, and coat the whole surface with the CD50. So here is the finished table. I hope you enjoyed this video, and Cypress Sawmill has all the timber you need to build this beautiful table.